reigning two-wheel drive champions Jasmine Chan and Sunil Tati were also competing in the main event for the first time. The Golf was underpowered compared to all the others, and it must have been disappointing not to have been more competitive. But it would all end badly anyway, when a front drive shaft sheared and they were out. Jasmeet had been equally as unlucky last year in Eldoret. Putting in a determined drive were Kuram Bhatt and Rafael Kivar. Apart from taking a jump too fast, which damaged the exhaust, and then hitting a rock, they had a clean run, returning to the finish 12th overall and 3rd in Division 3. Taking 2nd in the division and 11th overall were Jaswinder and Ravi Chana in the familiar Toyota Celica. Having fitted new ProFlex suspension, the driving experience was a whole new ball game. It was evident by the increased pace at which they passed our cameras.
All these years, everybody's been telling me change your suspensions, change your suspensions. I finally did, and I can see the difference. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I could not feel bumps, the rocks, the jumps. It was unbelievable. It's just very nice drive. I enjoyed myself. It was really good.
The quickest of the Division 3 drivers were Galib Haji and Acharya Karthikayan, who would undoubtedly be further up the rankings if they rallied more often. They led the division from the start, despite the pro-drive Impreza not delivering the boost they would have liked. They won the division by over 90 seconds and came 9th overall. The Division 3 drivers always make up the majority of entry in each rally, and positions on the board will be hard fought throughout the year. But for now, Galib Haji holds the lead. In Division 2, 6 crews took up the challenge, including Said Hamad and Victor Okundi, who had been promoted, having won Division 3 last year. Knowing they would have to be even quicker this year, they had upgraded their old Impreza to an N10, and it didn't take long to acclimatize to the increased performance. Alex Horsey with Frank Gitau never did get the stage win they wanted, but were still the favourites to win the division, and proved this by being the quickest of the group through the first 5 stages, opening up a gap of nearly 4 minutes over their nearest rival. By the halfway point, the Division 2 runners were drastically reduced. Alfir Khan and Mohammed Khanna were sidelined with clutch failure. Anthony Nielsen and Mike Ogopit were still recovering from their role, and Izzar Mirza and Zahir Shah returned on a tow rope with a broken centre diff. A crew being watched with interest was Ben Mushemi and Bob Kaugi, who were storming through the stages, but even they would have a short outing when a rear drive shaft broke on stage 5, and they were also out. Ben had been voted the 2009 Motorsports Personality of the Year, the most prestigious award that can be won in the sport. This was in recognition of his dedication in encouraging new drivers, and his remarkable achievement in overcoming stomach cancer, in which his desire to rally had played a major role.
To say the truth, I was very shocked because I never expected it at all. I have to prove that I qualified for it because I didn't do the other things before it. So I think maybe I'll go out of my way to do a bit of more sponsorship, to do better things for the motorsport fraternity.
Out on the route, Alex Horsey and Frank Gitau were well on their way to taking the Division 2 title when they punctured. There were not enough stage miles left to recover the time lost, and they had to accept second. As Said Hamad and Victor Okundi passed Alex Horsey on the side of the road, they couldn't believe their luck. Their exuberance led to a lapse in concentration, forcing our cameraman to quickly step out of the way. They had come from winning Division 3 to now winning Division 2. At the finish, they had not only won the division by nearly 8 minutes, but had also come 10th overall.
I can't say I was flat out, but I was trying because it's a new car to me. Yeah?
I thought this year it was going to be foot flat.
Yeah, from Safari.
What had been expected to be a competitive duel between the drivers had become a 2-horse race, with the odds falling in Said's favour, setting him up nicely for the season ahead. Up at the front, the cars were now in the final 2 stages of the rally, with the last 36 kilometers all on the edge of the Kerio Valley.
Into brow is slow right, fast left.
The gap between the Division 1 drivers and the remainder of the field widened even further as the pace continued to increase. Assad and Salim Khan proved that they were now qualified members of Kenya's elite by finishing 8th. Salim was still not feeling 100%. It was commendable that they were so competitive against their new contemporaries. Jas Mangat and Cedric Buzabo had come to Kenya in search of strong competition against which they could compare themselves. They not only found it, but fought back with determination, and 7th overall was a good result for them to go home with. Azhar Anwar and Julius Gige had to work harder than everyone else, carefully picking their lines to compensate for the car's lower power. Azhar was locked in a stage-by-stage race with his younger brother Assad, but eventually lost by 17 seconds to finish 6th. Finishing 5th had not been easy for Assad, but it had been an exciting tussle against his brother. The race went all the way to the end. It didn't give them any chance to relax. The quickest crew were Alistair Kavanagh with Gavin Lawrence, who were fastest over all the 4 stages of the second loop. The time gained served to close the gap on Chaga, but they ran out of stage miles and eventually lost 3rd by 10 seconds. Baldev Chaga and Raju Semi started stage 8 only 7 seconds behind Duncan, and the duel between the pair became an all-out race.
100.
They were battling it out for second place until a front shock blew on the N12 and Chaga was forced to back off and accept 3rd.
He didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew it was pretty close because we did wake up quite a bit. From our times in the morning, it was a big difference, so I knew it was going to be pretty close.
Ian Duncan and Amos Slatch were unaware of Chaga's misfortune and desperately tried to widen the gap. It was only at the end that they learned they'd won by 48 seconds. With no penalties to contend with, second place could not be snatched away from them.
Did you have a different attitude the second time round?
We thought we'd better wake up a little bit, yeah.
So more risks and more scary moments.
A few, yeah, in the bushes a few times.
Whilst Carl Tundu and Tim Jessup had the luxury of a 90-second cushion, it was by no means enough for them to relax. They were in their element, and although everything was working like clockwork, even they were surprised that by the end, they'd extended their lead by another 20 seconds. At the finish venue in E10, the crowd waited anxiously for the celebrations to begin. And as with all rallies in Kenya, it was a grand affair. This was Carl Tundu and Tim Jessup's 6th outright win since acquiring the Evo 9 exactly 1 year ago. And winning this first event of the year was an added sweetener.
I think that was the most sensible drive I've ever done. Absolutely no problems. Tim was on the pace. I was on the pace. We backed off on the second loop because we had a minute on Ian, but we seemed to go quicker than the first loop. Maybe because it had dried out a bit, but fantastic start to the season.
Carl Tundu had won by nearly 2 minutes from Ian Duncan, with Baldev Chaga in 3rd. Division 3 driver Galib Haji deserved a mention for coming 9th. 19 cars completed the course, including newcomers Raymond Kariuki and Jadida Weru in 18th and 19th respectively. Carl Tundu had started his defense of the championship title exactly as he did last year, but with 7 rounds remaining, he will have to work hard to stay at the top.